guys, welcome to episode 2 of The Forward Observer. I'm joined here with two really cool guests. A good friend of mine, goes by Tarnished Jackal, is he's probably been one of my rocks through probably the past year I've known him. And he's really astounded me with his hobbies, his interests, his different things he knows how to do. And he's been a member here at Krieger as long as I have. And he's always stayed in the background, but he's always there when he's needed. And of course, the celebrity that we've got today for our podcast is JimmyCorps himself, who runs veteransradio.ca. Do I get that right, JimmyCorps?
That's one of them.
That's one of them. He runs a kick-ass internet. See, I've already ruined it. There goes the monetization. But he runs. I can edit it out. He runs an internet radio show, usually a top 70, almost every day. What's your schedule?
Mondays and Fridays. Well, I got two stations. SnowflakeRadio.com, which plays all the hits that trigger snowflakes and other stations are scared to play. And then I got veteransradio.ca, which is a mix of everything.
Yeah.
They're all under the battlefiedradio.net.
There we go, battlefiedradio.net. I apologize for that, JimmyCorps.
Yeah, no worries. That was just a rebranding I had to do just only a few months ago, so you may not have seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, we're all familiar with JimmyCorps notifications and going in. If you guys haven't checked out the radio show, you really do need to. You can play it in the background while you're gaming and just hanging out. It's really awesome. So today, we're kind of talking about how our hobbies and interests kind of help us deal with not being in the military anymore, not being part of service. It could be something that was kind of attached to your job in the military, or something completely different that you didn't think that you would be good at. And a lot of studies have shown how hobbies really help improve mental health. And here at Krieger Gaming, we're all about that. So, and one of the big hobbies that we all have is, did you really change your profile picture back, Jackal? I love that. It's unscripted here. So here at Krieger Gaming, of course, we love video games. It's a hobby that we all share. So, but that's not everything. Sometimes you kind of need to get out. You kind of need to do things. Kind of get yourself out there into the world, or maybe get lost in it. So first, I'm just going to let my guest tell you a little bit about themselves. Tarnished, do you want to start?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can do that.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you. I'm Tarnished Jackal. I've gone by other names, but that's probably the most prestigious one now. You can also call me Brian. That works too. I've been out of the military since 2018. I was a Pathfinder, a scout, a couple other random things, worked with the civilians, did all sorts of stuff. And I'm always down to clown, help people out, or talk about anything.
All right. And then, of course, for those who don't know JimmyCorps, please tell us about yourself just a little bit.
Short, round, and grumpy.
Short, round, and grumpy.
Let's see. You mentioned the Battlefield Radio. There's 5 main points to the Battlefield Radio. First off is our tagline is "Help us help veterans. Donate today." Every dollar that goes back, that comes in, that I collect, goes right back out to veterans and first responder support organizations. So we have links on the website, battlefiedradio.net, where you can donate either through Ko-fi, PayPal, or e-transfers. And it all just started as a hobby. I bought some speakers and a sound system, doing farmers markets and stuff like that. Then I got into doing karaoke's and DJing, and so that's where we're at today.
All right, since you brought up karaoke and DJ, right quick, what's your craziest story about DJing or karaoke that you can give right now?
I don't think I have an actual. Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, here we go.
In fact, well, it's not that crazy, but there's a show that I used to do few years back. The first karaoke show that I actually was hosting every week, and I had a gentleman that would love to sing. God, he loved to sing. And we'd have some quiet nights once in a while where there'd only be about 2 or 3 singers. So he got to sing a lot.
Oh, wow.
And he had no conception of volume.
Oh, no.
In that I couldn't even hear the speakers because he was just a screaming. Fortunately, he was in tune, but.
Okay. I was about to be like Yoko Ono with like John Lennon and Chuck Berry, like screaming like, "Wah!"
Yoko Ono in tune.
Oh, okay. My favorite part is where the meme where like she starts doing that and Chuck Berry's face just gets really like his eyes just get really wide, and I was like, she got hit backstage. You know, just kidding. I don't know if that happened or not, and that was way before my time. It was a different time, everybody. So what did you do? So you were part of the Canadian military, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot that part.
Yeah,
I was in the Army, Canadian Army, Signal Corps for 10 years, 87 to 97.
87 to 97. Oh, this is an old head, everybody. You better show your respect.
Just don't poke me in the eye.
Just don't poke me in the eye. So you've been working with radio pretty much since you were like what, a teenager?
This sort of stuff I was doing, like radio communications, that sort of thing, was just while I was in the Army. And afterwards, when I would work with it on, because they say, you know, all the vets, what are you going to do when you get out?
Yeah,
you're not
right.
Qualified for anything.
They're right.
What are you going to do? Go work in a mall as a security guard?
I thought about it.
I went and got into security, and then got into close protection and contracts and stuff like that. So the only time I did any music was drunk as hell in the barracks, blasting my stereo Friday, Saturday night. And then the Junior Ranks Club brought me in as their DJ.
Whoa.
And that was my introduction to doing live shows and that.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I of course everybody knows, you know, the Ford Observer podcast. I was an FO in the Army. And in high school, I did theater and all that stuff. And I always loved talking in front of people, even though I was nervous as all get out to do it. I always loved making people laugh and doing stuff. And then when I got in the Army, it was I was always that funny dude on the mission or OP, the guy who did voices, how terrible or how good they were. I just wanted to break up the monotony. And then when I got out, like I kind of lost that passion myself. And I only like rediscovered it at after during COVID, when COVID killed the shop that I was working as a CNC machinist apprentice. And then I went to radio broadcasting. And the only reason I'm not like graduated with that is because I was turning into a conflict reporter. Every day I showed up to class, I had to have a headline. And like the first day of the first semester I began my degree program was the fall of Kabul. And then 2 months into the second semester, it was the siege of Kiev. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so, but I'm thankful for all the skills that radio got me. So when I saw that you came in and you had your own radio station, that was like the coolest thing ever, because we were taught that my favorite part was doing the radio stuff, was talking on air and all that stuff. And that spurred this interest in this for the most part. And then my other hobby, video gaming, I got old and boring, and I started playing Farm Sim, and I found it really relaxing. and then my school opened up an agricultural animal science program. So I'm currently in my next to last semester for my animal science degree for agricultural animal sciences. And I went from driving tractors on a controller to sticking my hand in cows. So that's a weird path that I took there. But it's one of those things where you kind of like, you lose your interest. In my case, you lose your interest in the Army and then you come right back to it. But let's get to Tarnished, because Tarnished is going to school right now for what?
I'm currently enrolled for fish and wildlife conservation.
Fish and wildlife conservation. And did you always just have a love for the outdoors?
Yeah, I grew up jumping and skipping around the United States, so I got to see a lot of different landscapes and stuff. So yeah, I've always been spending a lot of time outdoors. You know, I grew up in a single parent family for most of my life, so it was definitely a lot of just me and my brother hanging out and making do.
Yeah. I that reminds me a lot of my wife. My wife lived with her mom, and her mom just moved everywhere. Like, she was born in Germany as an Army brat, got brought over to the States, lived in Colorado for about until she was 8. Then her parents split up, and then she went to Montana, North Dakota, Idaho, Utah, and that's where I met her, in Utah. So yeah, but I'm very familiar with that kind of, hearing about that kind of lifestyle. It's crazy what that breeds into people.
Yeah, and you don't see it too much with non-military families, because everybody always assumes that you're military.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't for like the longest time until my mom got married. But yeah, it definitely sets a precedence. You know, you got that gypsy feel kind of deal.
Yeah, and she, like, up until like yesterday, my wife was like, because my wonderful wife's in nursing school right now, and she's her main goal is to be a certified nurse midwife, and she is just a crack at it. She is a natural nurse, and everything. And then North Carolina, used to be a state where you couldn't practice independently, even as a certified nurse midwife. Well, in October, they quietly rescinded that law and says that if you've been a nurse midwife for 2 years and have 2,000 hours under an OB, you can practice independently. So for the first time in my wife's life, she like feels like she's home. And it's crazy, because for the longest time in our relationship, like, we were telling people like, hey, you know, we love you, you know, but we might be moving to Idaho or Tennessee or South Carolina or Texas or somewhere that's midwife friendly, because when I got disabled, she stepped up. And she was like, I'm going to fulfill my dreams and go to college and get my master's degree. And I said, you go, girl. And you do that. And be my sugar mama. So,
yeah, man. Good
heck
stuff.
yeah. But she's an amazing nurse and everything. And like I've said, like I've been friends with Brian here for about a year. And I've seen some of the stuff that he's done for school. And he taught me how to measure a tree with a pen. And that's pretty great. Well, a pen and a tape measure, but still, and another person. But still, like I was pretty impressed with
the instructional video.
The instructional video was I'm gonna have to find some way to get that and attach it to the YouTube video.
Oh yeah, please don't.
So you working outdoor, like, you always just hanging out with your brother. You've been all over the place. You go into the Army. You enlisted as an infantryman, right?
Yep, 11 Bravo.
11 Bravo, my man. And went over there and went through Pathfinder school. And guys, if you don't know what Pathfinder is, and he's not gonna like that I say that, Pathfinder is a freaking hard school. It is one of the hardest schools in the military. And it's not so much used now, but when I was in, if you saw someone with a Pathfinder torch on their uniform, you know that guy knew a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't. So you shut up and listen. So I'm very, very honored to have Tarnished here, and he'll hate that I say that. He'll hate it. He's hating it right now. He's biting his freaking lip right now.
Yeah, fuming.
But so you took that and you like really ran with it and did because Pathfinder's a lot of land navigation and surveying and all kinds of stuff. And you guys gotta and did that just like steer you into when you got out of the military? You're like, I gotta do like it's I really love doing that kind of stuff, or was it like this is the only thing I know how to do?
I found out like early on in my military career that it seemed like anytime someone else said I should do something, it just magically happened on its own. My basic training first sergeant was like, "Hey, you should go be a scout. Try to be a sniper or something." And eventually, both those like things came onto my plate. But yeah, I spent time as a scout, and I spent all that time in crippling, companies that would close out within a year or so, me being there, and that really stunk. But when I got out, I had all these skills that, as 11 Bravo, basically, you still, like Jimmy said, they expect you to be a security guard, and I had a short little bit doing that here in Oregon, but I took that year where I kind of didn't do anything, and that was really kind of detrimental. It wasn't really something I'd suggest many people to do. I just managed it because of like the hard budgeting I'd done the whole time I was in.
Yeah.
But somebody was like, "Well, maybe you should do something like this because you've always loved the outdoors." And the wife got a job up here in Oregon, and I was like, "The Pacific Northwest is where it's at. I'll go to school." And the rest is history.
The rest is history. Like it's so crazy how when you get out, and if you're in a like Jimmy had a skill, even if he worked as a security guard, he had a skill and made the best of it. When you're a combat armsman, unless you've done something like really cool or like had some kind of other job that you were just voluntold to do and you just picked up that skill, you're really only good at breaking shit and blowing stuff up. So there's not a lot of need for that besides being a contractor and doing some stuff that we can't talk about. But it's crazy how like in my case, I went from like calling in aircraft, precise targeting under stressful situations, managing equipment and personnel, and making sure communications align. And then when I got out, they told me I was worth $9.50 an hour at a factory.
Yeah, and that's the sad truth with a lot of jobs, that even if you've got impressive skill sets or experience or all the soft skills, quote unquote, that they said that we all develop in the military, you still, a lot of jobs just turn you away because you don't got a degree,
Yeah,
and
you don't have a piece of paper.
I tried to go because the Montana fire stuff was really bad when I got out, and they needed people to do basically ATC stuff. I tried to do that, and I didn't have a degree, so I got turned away. And I tried to get out, and I tried to go be a pilot in Eastern Oregon, and that was financially almost impossible to keep up with.
Oh my gosh, so much money. It's like what, 10, 15 grand? Something like that?
Yeah,
like all together?
I got like a medical discharge, so the stuff that I needed to get cleared because of that was like $2 to $3 grand every year.
Oh my god!
I just couldn't float it at the time.
Yeah.
And I was stupid. It didn't reach out for help,
Yeah, and that and that's the thing. Like, Jimmy, speak to that. Like, of course, you got out a good bit before us. What was the Canadian military doing for you guys transitioning out, or was it just like, good luck, Godspeed?
They're better at it now with the medical clearing and the rest of it. There are people that I know that I would say they stayed in their last 2-3 years. They were ready to leave, but they couldn't because they couldn't medical issues. They couldn't release you without dealing with it. So I've been lucky. I mean, I think it was only about 10 years ago that I first started going to Veterans Affairs, 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I just white knuckled it right up until then.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Out of the just one day, I walked into the Veterans Affairs Canada office in Calgary, and they started. We did an interview, and things just started getting taken care of. Like I said, I have nothing to complain about as far as I know, because I've been fortunate. I haven't had any of my claims blocked or stopped or anything, except for there was one, but it got reviewed and accepted shortly after. So.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's.
Like I said, I know there's a lot of horror stories out there, and they're
Oh
not.
yeah.
I mean, they're not bullshit. It
Yeah.
really does happen.
It's really like a luck of the draw sometimes. Like who's evaluating your case?
Yeah. A quick example. There was a guy I knew with the Patricias, and that's the PPCLI, Princess Patricia Canadian Light Infantry, and
Oh
he
wow.
came back from our Bosnia tour, and they said that there was a lot of PCVs and toxins in the ground in the area we're in, and of course we did a lot of digging for sandbags and such.
Yeah.
And he got the worst of it. Ended up living in his house with his wife and 2 kids. He was I think a 1-hook private. Anyway, they had to black out the windows, black out the door, take all the lights out of the small bed, and it's just a small bedroom with just his small bed in there, no other furniture. He couldn't take light. He couldn't anything like that, and he couldn't get out of bed. So his wife would have to feed him in the dark. And my understanding of it, and this is to the best of my knowledge from talking with people who are familiar with it, the Veterans Affairs back then, so this is the 90s.
Oh man.
Gave him an award for a cash award, $400 a month to look after his wife and 2 kids.
Man, how magnanimous. Let's give him a hand, everybody.
He couldn't leave his bed. He was just that sick.
Balkan dirt turned him into a freaking vampire. Holy crap. That's crazy. Yeah. I've never heard about that in my life. That's freaking crazy. I mean, of course, us post 9/11 and like Global War on Terror veterans, we have the burn pits, now. That's a big thing here. I'm super lucky. I don't know about Tarnished, but we were super lucky. We just had a big pit outside the HLZ that we would just store our trash in and then chuck an incendiary grenade and just leave. And then the CBs had built us up like a waste, it was a gray water treatment little plant the size of maybe a big U-Haul truck. And it was because our base was so isolated, it needed to be self-sufficient. So we actually had running water and hard buildings and everything, but it was a tiny little footprint. And those buildings could withstand a whole lot of stuff. Hats off to, if you know a CB, shake their hands. They built some really quality stuff. It could take a 107 millimeter rocket. I can attest to that. But yeah, the crazy stuff with the VA, and like when you get out and you're transitioning, you're dealing with all this stuff. Like when I got out, it was during the sequestering years of the Obama administration. We're not going to get political or anything. I'm just going to state, what was happening at the time. They were just trying to save money. I think the American Healthcare, hey, look, that's Weather Channel. We're about to get rain. That's great. The Obama administration was trying to save money, and the way they did, like, they forced a huge surge into Afghanistan from 2010 to like 2012, 13, and then they started drawing everything back and like really like leaving the veterans that they shoved through to like really take back some of these valleys and stuff like that. The Connie Network and the Taliban had all like entrenched themselves in, and we really went in there and pushed them out, lost some guys, lost a lot of Afghans to take these valleys. And then with a year and a half, they gave them up on the border, and that was super demoralizing. And so when I like in 2014 when I was getting out, and they were just handing out pink slip, like dudes who had served armed for 15 years were getting pink slip because they failed a PT test or got a counseling or, a summary Article 15. And
walked on the Sergeant Major's grass.
Walked on the Sergeant Major's grass. Pink slip. Bam. Get out of here. When I got out, and I kind of talked like this the last podcast. I was supposed to be medically retired myself, but no one wanted to deal with that, and they were shutting down all the warrior transition units. I was told by the VA guy when I was getting my physical that they were backed up about 24 months just from reading the claim. And they pretty much dissuaded me from even filing a claim. So, like, it took me all the way to like 20. I got out in 2014. It took me to 2017 to start getting help. And then by 2018, I was fully disabled. And at that point, I never found time for my hobby. Like, gaming was a survival mechanism at that point. It was just like, I got to get home from my factory job. I've worked 12 hours, 14, 16 hours on a concrete floor. I've walked 10 miles. I've put together so many steel things, punched stuff, assembled stuff, forklift stuff all across, and, get on there and play some Xbox with some army buddies and stuff like that. It really kind of saved my psyche for the most part until it didn't. And then when I was disabled, I really had to find a hobby. You really had to find a hobby when you're disabled. Like, you really had to find something to do, because idle hands, they'll sit there and you'll get really destructive really fast. Started to find like blacksmithing. I started watching Forged in Fire, like you do, like every master blacksmith. Watched Forged in Fire. Yeah, every time. And the Forge of Old, I watched, what's his name? That funny man say, "It will kill," and I knew. But it's pretty it's pretty weird, like, trying to find and how the hobby can maybe one day find you to what you're gonna do. Like, if it's just just sitting back and just kicking out kick-ass internet radio stations, or going through the woods and just being able to identify the most obscurest stuff on the planet. I just kind of want to know, like, is that the same for you guys? Like, did you find that when you were getting out, like, how you kind of navigated that?
Yeah. So I'll talk.
It's okay. Don't everybody jump at once. All right.
Nosh. I mean, you didn't say. So yeah, I got out and I kind of just wallowed in my kind of self-pity, honestly, for like a year and a half. I didn't really drive too hard to do stuff, and I was still basically outside base. And gaming really wasn't like a productive hobby at that time. I'd done it when I was in the military, but it was just something to fill my day. It wasn't really like a coping thing from like doing something harder. But as soon as I started to like pull my head out of my, rear end and get momentum elsewhere that I needed to maintain when getting out, it definitely did come around to where it was a good hobby to have. That and other things. I mean, that's the key I took out of it, is people are going to tell you what worked for them when they get out. But at the end of the day, you need to ignore all the stuff they're throwing at you, basically, when you're doing like ACAP or something similar to that. You got to kind of ignore it and ask for the help you're going to need then. And then take a step back, breathe, and realize what's coming at you. Identify those, those near targets, those fast readies, if you want to get military jargony about it. And you got to be like, hey, this is what's going to be troubling me when I get out. This is what's troubling me now. I need to hit this full on. I need to dodge it. One of these, you got to figure that out, and then you can get that hobby that's going to help you kind of recover from that high tempo that you're going to be maintaining afterwards.
Yeah, it's crazy how much like stuff they told you at ACAP that you shouldn't do right now that you absolutely needed to do exactly right then? Like, it's so crazy, and hopefully it's changed, but probably not. That
when I went through, they gave me like 500-page book, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a fire hose.
Yeah, and I'm glad those resources are there. Granted, those are great resources. I'm glad that we've come to a place where veterans can get that stuff, but it's the good stuff is drowned out in the noise.
Yeah. And it's, man, not to get like jokey about it or anything, but like I would have rather have shot myself in both feet than go to the VA. When I was so done with the military, I was so done with everything, with how I was treated my last 6 months. And honestly, they like it's kind of my fault too, but I was slipping into a mental illness that I didn't even know I had, and it was when I finally told the guys I deployed with I was bipolar, they were like, "You didn't know?" Like, what does that mean? Why did no one tell me? Like, no one told me this. I just thought I was irritated because we were, marching up and down mountains for like, 2 weeks and then off a week and then 2 weeks and then off a week. And so that was a surprise. And, especially in like combat arms units. And it is like this all across the military. Like, if you go get help and they like do something about it, that you can't do your normal job, you're a malingerer. You're just trying to get out of work. Yeah. Trying to get out of work. You don't want to do nothing. Soldiers these days. You'll have E8s and E9s say that. Meanwhile, their soldiers are hanging themselves in their closets. Like what are you doing? Their soldiers these days don't lack discipline. No, they need just a little compassion. Like, yeah, get the discipline in there, but when a dude, like when a good soldier says, "Hey, I need help," like, what? You're supposed to help. And
it's hard to discipline a soldier whose legs bent backwards,
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. I have a buddy who I was stationed at Fort Polk with, and one of the most competent infantrymen I've ever met. And he was in a different battalion, but we were best friends. We were such good friends that people thought we were lovers. And this was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because we were always hanging out. We just hang out together. And when Don't Ask, Don't Tell got repealed, we kind of thought about it just to get out of the barracks. But as you do, I named my third son after him. So just to show how like close friends we were. And he was a 240 gunner, and he was running with a 240 on a live fire range. And this is how gung ho he was. He stepped wrong. He broke his fucking leg, and he didn't realize it. Like every time he went to go get up and like go to the objective, like he would fall down and he would get up. So he just decided to like low crawl until the weapons sergeant comes over and is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm moving to the objective." He's like, "Look at your fucking leg," and it was literally like cocked to the side. just ruined. Just ruined. And then he had to like he was out of the fight for like 8, 9 a while. 8, 9 weeks, 2, 3 months, something like that. And they treated him like crap. And he was one of their best soldiers. And we kind of got sidetracked from the hobby stuff. So just to talk about how horrible the arms treats you if you're hurt. But so Tarnished, you've got your nature stuff, but you also do like leather crafting, right?
I do all sorts of stuff. I try to fill holes where I see holes. I do all sorts of hands-on, I'll do leather craft and stuff a little bit. I'll carve, I do bone, antler, horn, stuff like that. But I mean, I've been getting into a lot of cliche hobbies too, but backpacking's another one. Yeah, man, honestly, I'll try pretty much anything once if it's going to keep me entertained. I just shift on and off.
it's like hyperfixation on steroids because you actually like learn something and stick with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just do it until I'm not good at it, and then I come back when I'm good at it again.
That's how it works, right? That's how it's supposed to work. Jimmy, is there anything that you do outside of the radio? I mean, I've seen you play games on Discord and stuff like that.
Yeah, that started much like the same way, same thing you both said was, my head was, it was just stupid fast, and always in my head, always in my head. So that's what got me was into gaming, Diablo and Call of Duty and some other earlier games. It was just because it was new, and uh, depending on the game, it could be really captivating. And my brain, I couldn't, I didn't have to listen to my head the whole time, running over memories and issues and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so it shut my brain up so I could play. And then, unfortunately, as most folks find, after 4 or 5 years of gaming, it didn't work anymore.
Yeah, it is some reason you're just playing, you're just like, this is not working anymore. There's some games that even like that can even like trigger you a little bit. Like for me, like the big one, and I hate he's gonna see this. Johan's invited me to play with some of his friends for squad yesterday, and it triggered that is a realistic game. That is super realistic.
The Last of Us was mine.
That's crazy.
All that did was put me back in Bosnia watching them kill cops.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
There's the one scene, of course, you're probably familiar with it. The cop kills the little girl.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen that.
That's about 15 minutes into the game, and I uninstalled
you just put it down.
Never went back to it.
Just put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I try to pick up squad every now and again, and it's just so like the guys at squad, it's just so close to like really how combined arms maneuvering is in like an intense situation. Of course, it's a video game, and of course, a lot of these guys are just playing. They're just there. They're good at the game. They're good at communication, but you still the tenets are there: shoot, move, communicate, look for cover, look for advantageous cover, concealment. Try to get the drop on somebody, because usually if you don't get the drop on somebody, they're going to get the drop on you. And it just reignited all those feelings again. And that's kind of why I went to simulators a little bit, because they're calming and they're always interesting. I'm a huge train nerd, and poor Tarnished has to listen to it all the daggum time. Everyone who listens to me, he has to listen to all these stupid steam engine facts and everything, but it's calm. It's one of those things where it just calms me down, and it's just fantastic that, you know, especially with like PC game, console gaming is great. I love being able to come home and hit a controller and sit down on my couch and just play some Assassin's Creed or something like that. Skyrim, you know, we have all put probably hundreds of hours into Skyrim at one point or another, you know, just doing that and zoning out. And one cool thing about PC gaming is just the wide breadth of the kind of games you can play. And that's kind of like why I wanted a gaming PC, because I was getting bored of, you know, the open world RPG experience for like the 1,000th time, the same thing but different, right? And so going into simulators and then doing the simulators led me to a career path. Which is crazy. All the old farmers hate when I tell them that. They're like, well, how'd you get into farming there, Will? And I was like, well, you ever heard of farming simulator? And their face just drops. Now, I grew up around agriculture my whole life. I'm from a very rural community in North Carolina. You can probably hear from my accent. I'm not a city person. I grew up, the road that I grew up on got paved 2 years before I was born. So like, it's always been around me, and I was always good at it, but gaming really brought that hobby really brought me to, just love being around animals, being on farms. And it's so healing working with animals, working with tractors, combines, anything. I've yet to say no, I will not run that. And I've learned, I went from kind of knowing how to drive a stick shift manual car to being able to run an excavator and a skid steer and all kinds of stuff. The tractors from like the 1960s to 2023, all kinds of stuff. Like playing farm sim for real, which is crazy. You know, if I would have told myself 2 years ago, like, hey, you know that dumb game that you got on like PlayStation Plus to play for free? Yeah, you're gonna fall in love with that really hard, and you're gonna go to college for that. And you're like, what? You can go to college for that? Sign me up. You know, but hobbies. So guys, pretty much the point of this podcast, and I was really thinking hard of it. You got to find something to do. Because like Jimmy said, the gaming's a temporary band-aid. Pretty soon that dopamine runs out. And you got to find something else to do. And it's got to be constructive. Otherwise, it's going to be destructive. And we all know where that leads. You know, too many of our brothers and sisters, whether they be in law enforcement, first responder, or military, find other things to fill that void, to get that dopamine hit, and destroys their lives. And this is a lot serious podcast than the last one. Not so much smoking and joking, because it is really serious. Especially around Veterans Day and the holidays. It's really serious, and I've had a tough week, and gaming, my hobbies have been there to save me. Which is why I feel so strongly about this topic, because otherwise I'd just be sitting there looking at like Ricky Bobby, another Ricky Bobby reference, second episode in the road. I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah, that. Thanks, Discord filter. I don't want to do with my palm. Kind of. Okay, that didn't sink.
We'll get you a bed sheet for the background.
You should give me a big shit. Look at this dumb X back there. So I found the Discord filters. I was wondering how Jay did that last episode. I was like, how did he get the filter on? Discord does it, but that stupid X that I put on that back wall is like half visible. You can see the doorknob of my daggum office closet, trying to cover it up.
Heck, I just saw that we have music.
We have music? We don't have music.
At the bottom of my screen, I can unmute music.
Unmute music? Yeah, we're not going to do that.
It's like elevator music.
Oh, it's Muzak. It's Muzak. All right. So the serious part of the podcast is pretty much done. To lift us up a little bit. Funny story from the military. Go, Jimmy. Give me a funny story.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
I was, I'm pretty sure I was a no-hook private at the time. And this is, of course, 90, 91, something like that. And we're cleaning our vehicles. We're in the hangar at the squadron. Cleaning our vehicles. We had just come back from exercise, I guess. Wiping everything down. I was a Jeep jockey at that time. And I was...
Now, what's a Jeep jockey? Easy with your old man lingo.
We had at that time, instead of the YJs or anything like that, the Willies, we had what we called the ILTAs.
The ILTAs?
And it was the Canadian Armed Forces Jeep.
Ah,
and so
okay.
I was a driver. Driver escort, that sort of thing. And so I'm working around doing the fluids, doing the cleaning, cleaning all the kit that goes in the Jeep. And on each side of our, on the hoods, is the flag standard, in case you're carrying somebody who has their own flag, like general or what have you. Okay. Well, I was cleaning one of them, wiping it down, and I stuck my finger in with the cloth to get it, whatever mud was in there.
Yeah, it was mud, wasn't it?
And then I went around the other side. You know where this is going, right?
Oh, no.
I go to the other side, and I'm looking at, as I'm thinking, oh, I should clean this. Oh, yeah, I got to clean this one too, clean it out. And I stuck with it. As I'm putting my finger in there, I thought, I wonder, are they the same diameter?
No.
Bitch, I'm stuck.
Oh no. No.
Let's just say it went through the squadron so fast that 10 minutes later, I had a couple of the guys from the Pioneer section there with blade saw of some sort. And I hear this voice behind me. The hell are you doing, Serene? I turn around. It's the sergeant major.
Oh no.
And our CO standing there cross-armed, losing their ever-loving mind at me.
Oh my
God. They
God.
actually had to cut me out without, and they were good too. They didn't, very little damage to the finger, but yes, he asked me, what the hell were you doing? I was cleaning it, and I was just wondering if it was the same diameter as the other one.
Oh, it was your finger. I thought it was something else.
No.
Oh yeah, we all went there.
I all went there. I'm sorry. That's the headline. I was like, daggone. Is he sticking in a tailpipe?
All the way up there to the top of the hood? Yeah, that would be impressive.
That
Threw
would
it
be
over his shoulder too.
Threw it is over his shoulder.
No, it was just a matter of getting my finger stuck in a damn Jeep.
Oh my gosh. Man, that's also a roller coaster of a sentence. It was just me getting my finger stuck in, and everybody's like, in what? A Jeep. Are you sure? Is that a euphemism for something? Brian,
yeah,
go.
I go anywhere near the tailpipe.
Oh, I'm just saying, if you got something stuck in the tailpipe, I'm sitting there going, man, was Jimmy's nickname the Cheese Wheel?
Summer sausage, man.
Yeah, sausage. That Canadian sausage. That's what it was. They called him the Calgary Smasher. That's what they called him.
No, that wasn't quite it. Cyrene the Gyrene.
Cyrene the Gyrene? Oh, you were a dancer, weren't you? Did you go and cut it up?
Yeah, no.
Come on, you cut it up. You can dance. I had a dude.
Short, round, and grumpy.
Short, round, and grumpy. That leads me to. I'm gonna let Brian hear, but I'm gonna tell a funny story myself. And so, Tarnished, funny story, go.
Oh man, I was all serious. I don't got funny stories.
Yes, you do. Shut up.
I'll try not to outplay. I got to see a guy get an exhaust sample. There you go. Funny story.
You got to see it. Wait, hold on. Someone actually went and trash bagged an exhaust stuff.
I've got pictures too. Yeah.
You've got
when the lowest denominator privates show up, sometimes you can actually get them to do the cliche things.
Oh my gosh. I think.
Yeah, I'll save stories for next time. But
no, that's not fair. All right, so I'll get my story. So, I'm planning on having some of the guys from my deployment platoon on here, and probably about January or February, and they can corroborate this story. But I was stationed in Germany for my first station, and we were doing our military readiness exercise and deployment readiness exercise in Hohenfels, Germany. And Hohenfels is horrible. Like, it's beautiful, but it's horrible because it's full of black sticky mud and boars the size of Volkswagen Beetles. And you're out there with blanks. You're out there with blanks and maybe a combat knife. And these things, we would look through the thermals at them, and it would look like a car coming down the road, and then it would turn and we'd see it was a pig, and we're like, good Lord, what is going on? So we're stood there, and we're out there for a month, and we're on a COP. So they simulated us being deployed and stuff, and it was early. It was mid-spring in Germany, and it's raining and everything, and we don't have showers on the base either. Like, we don't have showers on the COP. So if you're taking a shower, you're taking a water bottle shower. In the spring in Germany, in the rain, you're not taking a shower. And so everybody went into a contest to see how stinky you could get. I was told I smelled like old Chinese food. And I had this guy there, and that was a generator mechanic and a tracked vehicle mechanic. That pretty much, when they took the tanks away from Charlie Tank, they made him an infantryman and a 203 gunner. and he was short, round, and grumpy. His name was Michael Moody, and he did not look like an infantryman. And he could sink a 40 millimeter grenade into a door at like 100 meters. It was crazy how good he was with it. But he just didn't look like he was in shape, and he could eat anything. And one day we were bored. I think it was one of the last days we were in Hohenfeld's, and our cooks at our little little mess had all this milk that was going to go bad. So Moody got all the milk that would equal a gallon and try to do the gallon challenge. Moody starts chugging this milk. Come to find out, Moody's kind of lactose intolerant. And so like of course he couldn't get the gallon down, and he threw up. And that was funny, but that's not the point of this story. The gas afterwards was horrendous. So we're in this big army tent, this platoon tent full of like 30 dudes, 25, 30 dudes. We all smell horrible. And we've become nose blind to a smell that would probably gag an EMT. Like, it's bad. Like, we may be wiping with baby wipes. It was horrible, and this is the only time we ever did it. And Moody's on the other side of the tent, and he's just like, oh, my stomach. And we're like, yeah, that fucking milk challenge wasn't all it was cracked up to be, was it? And he was like, oh no. And he just lets this horrendous fart out. And we're like, oh, well, that was awesome. And then the smell started to hit everybody. I have never seen a man make 4 other people vomit from a fart, but I did that day. Moody made me, my buddy Brian, and 2 others go outside and vomit because it was the most ungodly smell you have ever smelled in your life. And then another thing that happened was that's the first time someone ever like punched me in the taint. Has anyone been taint punched? No one? No one's been taint punched.
No.
Well, it wasn't really punched. So my sergeant, this was like the first day we were there. We're climbing all these towers so we can get target like known points, so we can shift fires, simulate shifting fires during shooting bad guys, trying to make it as simple as possible. Well, we're climbing up there, and like Sergeant Lukebach has just become my NCO. He has smoked the dog crap out of me for the past 2 months, just trying to turn me into an actual FO. And I'm climbing up this tower, and we've now kind of that master and apprentice relationship. We're cordial. There's a lot of respect there, but we can joke around with each other and stuff like that. And Luke, who's like 6 foot, whatever, he looks like a human bird. He looks like a bird of prey. Very angular features, very sharp features. He was very tall and lanky. Sergeant Lukebach was. And he's at the bottom, and I'm climbing my little short butt up because I'm only like 5'9" at this point. And I'm climbing up this ladder, and Sergeant Luke goes, "Hey, D," and I go, "What, Sergeant?" He just goes, "Whoop," and just knife hands me right in the gooch. And I'm about 9 feet up this ladder, and I lock up and literally let go of the ladder and just fall back right on my back. And it was just like, oh shit, no. And then Sergeant Lou's like, get up right now, and just yelling at me, like making it seem like I messed up. And everybody's like, well, what's Darnell doing? And Sergeant Luke's just like, oh, he's just laying down on the job. And I'm like, I want to be like, you son of a bitch. Our E7's yelling at me to get up in the tower, and he was like, yeah, get up there. And like when we get there, he was like, how did you like your first tank punch? And I was like, I hate you. I wanted to push you out of the fucking tower so fucking bad. Oh man, Hohenfels was horrible. Oh man, I also tried to jump over a wall, tipped my toe, and then a did a combat row with a full rucksack and a fully extended long whip antenna. That's like the coolest thing I ever did in the military. Like jumped, tripped, combat rolled, got up on feet, and continued walking to the mortar pit. And like my platoon saw me, and like second squad like golf clapped it. Highest point in my military career. Nothing can top that.
My man.
If you want to support our friend JimmyCorps, head on over to battlefieldradio.net and subscribe when he goes live on Kick. And remember, if you want to donate, like he said in the podcast, every cent goes back to veterans. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Forward Observer podcast. And remember, if you have any interest in a community of first responder and veterans, please go to KriegerGaming.com. And remember, ACTA, non-VERBA. Be blessed, everyone. Goodbye.